Before the world spoke of superpowers, before empires stretched across oceans, there was a civilization that mastered bureaucracy, warfare, and statecraft on a scale never seen before. To understand which Chinese dynasty truly deserves the title of the most powerful, we have to look beyond simple conquest and ask a deeper question about power itself. Power isn't just about how much land you control, but how effectively you govern it, how long your system endures, how deeply your culture shapes the world, and how decisively your legacy influences future generations. When historians and modern scholars look at Chinese history through that lens, one dynasty rises to the center of the debate again and again: the Han Dynasty. This was a ruling house that didn't just dominate China. It defined what China would become for more than 2,000 years. When the Han emerged from the chaos left by the short-lived Qin Empire around 206 BCE, it inherited a land exhausted by war and harsh rule. Yet, within decades, it transformed that fractured territory into one of the most stable, prosperous, and influential empires of the ancient world. An empire so foundational that even today, the majority ethnic group in China still calls itself Han, a testament to how deeply this dynasty embedded itself into the identity of an entire civilization. This isn't a claim based on myth. According to mainstream scholarship, including records from court historians like Sima Qian, the Han Dynasty established the administrative, political, and cultural framework that nearly every later Chinese dynasty would adopt, adapt, or attempt to restore. That alone places it in a category of power that goes far beyond military might. Yet the military story itself is nothing short of extraordinary. At its height, the Han Empire stretched from the Korean Peninsula to Central Asia, pushing deep into regions we now know as Vietnam, Mongolia, and Xinjiang. This expansion wasn't random. It was a calculated strategy to secure trade routes, neutralize nomadic threats, and project Chinese influence across Eurasia. Most famously, this led to the opening and protection of what we now call the Silk Road, a vast network connecting Han China to Persia, India, the Middle East, and even the Roman world. It was an early form of globalization where silk, spices, horses, technologies, and ideas flowed across continents. Historians agree that the Han state actively invested in this system through military garrisons and alliances, understanding that economic power could reinforce political dominance, a remarkably modern insight for an ancient empire. At the center of this stood the Han military, a force combining large infantry formations with disciplined cavalry, advanced weaponry, and standardized training. It allowed the state to project power efficiently, particularly in its long and grueling conflicts against the Xiongnu Confederation, a powerful nomadic rival. While historians debate the long-term effectiveness of some Han policies, there is broad agreement that their campaigns permanently altered the balance of power on the steppe and secured China's northern frontiers for decades. But military strength alone doesn't explain why the Han is so often ranked above other formidable dynasties like the Tang or the Qing. The true genius of Han power lay in its governance. The state blended the strict legalist systems of the Qin with Confucian moral philosophy to create a durable, flexible bureaucratic model. This was crucial. The Qin dynasty had proven that harsh laws could unify China quickly, but they also provoked rebellion just as fast. The Han rulers softened the edges of legalism while preserving its efficiency. They promoted Confucian ideals like loyalty and ethical governance as the moral backbone of the state, a move scholars view as one of the most influential political compromises in world history. It created a ruling ideology that justified imperial authority while placing ethical expectations on those who wielded it. From this system emerged the early foundations of the civil service tradition, where education and literary skill became pathways to power, reducing the dominance of hereditary aristocrats. Though the full imperial examination system came later, its philosophical roots were unmistakably Han. The dynasty's power extended not just across territory, but across time, shaping how China would govern itself for centuries. This internal stability had profound economic consequences. The Han era saw major agricultural expansion, driven by state-sponsored irrigation, land reclamation, and technological innovation, including improved iron tools and water-powered mills. This supported significant population growth, large cities, and standing armies. The state also established monopolies on salt and iron, not just to generate revenue, but to stabilize prices and limit the power of wealthy merchants who might challenge imperial authority. The famous discourses on salt and iron record the intense debates over these policies, showing that Han power wasn't blind but deeply self-aware. This intellectual vitality extended far beyond economics. The Han era is often described as a golden age of Chinese culture and science. It saw major advances in astronomy, medicine, and engineering, including the development of paper-making technology, traditionally attributed to Cai Lun. This breakthrough would eventually revolutionize education, administration, and communication across the world. While early paper existed before him, the Han state systematized its use on an unprecedented scale, reinforcing bureaucratic efficiency and cultural transmission. This combination of innovation and discipline allowed the Han Dynasty to maintain coherence for 4 centuries, a remarkable feat in the pre-industrial world. Modern historians often draw parallels between Han China and the Roman Empire, noting both controlled vast populations and had sophisticated armies. Yet many argue the Han system proved more resilient. Even after its collapse in 220 CE, the idea of a unified Chinese empire didn't disappear. It remained a political ideal that later dynasties actively sought to restore. This suggests Han power was as much conceptual as it was physical, embedding unity itself into the Chinese worldview. This ideological legacy is perhaps the strongest argument for the Han Dynasty's unmatched power. While other dynasties like the Tang are celebrated for cultural brilliance, or the Yuan for territorial reach, none left behind a national identity so deeply tied to their name. None defined Chineseness in such a lasting way. Of course, the Han Dynasty was not without flaws. It faced corruption, court intrigue, and social inequality, especially near its end when powerful landowning families grew at the expense of small farmers. This contributed to unrest like the Yellow Turban Rebellion, a key factor in the dynasty's fall. These weaknesses remind us that Han power was not absolute or eternal. Some scholars argue that later dynasties like the Tang, with its cosmopolitan openness, could be considered more powerful by certain metrics, which is a valid perspective. But when power is understood as the ability to shape a civilization's political institutions, cultural identity, and historical trajectory over millennia, the Han Dynasty stands apart. Its influence didn't end when its emperors fell. It lived on in language, governance, philosophy, and collective memory. Even today, when analysts look at the foundations of the Chinese state, they inevitably return to the Han model. It is a reminder that the most powerful dynasty may not be the one that conquered the most land, but the one that built systems so enduring they outlasted the dynasty itself. Through centuries of war and peace, that Han legacy continues to echo, offering us a glimpse into how power, when paired with vision and culture, can transcend time. If there is another empire or moment in history you'd like to explore through this lens, let me know in the comments. Understanding the past is one of the most powerful ways to understand the present, and it's a journey always worth continuing. Thanks for watching.